Baik, Anda masih bersama kami di segmen Bincang Halo Indonesia dan kita masih membahas lembaga non-profit dari negara tetangga kita Singapura, TBN Asia. Kita kembali lagi ke Mason. Mason, I mean like this is TBN Asia. Okay, right now the focus is still on Southeast Asia. And later I believe that you guys are doing much larger. That is the scope of Asia, which is, we know, this is the biggest continent in the world. So how do you scope those super huge area?
Good question. Good question. And I think what we're trying to focus now is to do well in what we're doing. Focus on Southeast Asia first, and we welcome our people from whether they live from India, from China, or from other continents, willing to learn and share. We are more than happy to share our experience and journey with them, and hopefully they can replicate that and back home in their home countries. So right now, very much we also have exposure to projects in Africa, and we do not try to reinvent the wheel and say, oh, we want to reinvent the wheel doing in Asia. If we see something is workable in Africa, we just borrow the idea and do it here. We do not need to reinvent the wheel.
Okay, so talking about, let's talk about the big, small scale in Southeast Asia. In what countries are being the concern of TB in Asia? I mean, like, the countries that we call it as the third world countries or what?
Well, I think third world country is a misnomer, and honestly, even in Singapore, we also have poor people. Every country have its own poverty issues. And I believe that we just have different solutions. As I mentioned earlier, there are both urban poverty and rural poverty. Urban poverty are those people who are not able to make a sustainable livelihood in a city urban setting. Rural poverty are those who live in the rural area that are not living in the city lives. Each rural poverty and urban poverty have its own set of challenges, and so our goal is actually to see how we can help the weak and the poor people, whether you are in rural area or in the urban city area.
Okay, how do you select the countries that is eligible for this project?
For now, our TBN Asia is focusing all within ASEAN countries. Our key focus is naturally is Indonesia. That's why we are here.
Mason Tan, continuing what we stated just now before the break, Indonesia, Jakarta. You're going to hold an event in Jakarta, 14 and 15 September 2017. The question is, why must be in Jakarta? And what are the backgrounds and the goals that you guys set there?
Okay, that's a very good question. Why Jakarta? Why Indonesia? I mean, as I mentioned earlier, it's actually because Indonesia is the largest nation in Southeast Asia, with almost close to 300 million people, and it is the world's fourth most populous nation in the world. And we have visited so many ASEAN countries, and we see that there are so many exciting projects in Indonesia. I think it's because of the passion of the people, because of the size of the market, and we felt that we need to help to support these aspiring young social entrepreneurs to lift them up to the second higher level, which to not just become social enterprise, but become sustainable enterprise with a conscious mind of helping the poor and the marginalized people.
Okay. In addition to social enterprises that are good in the near future, do you also see that there's also good numbers of poverty in Indonesia that must be reduced or something?
Yes and no. And I think it's about how you see yourself. I was sharing with a lot of people that to be a sustainable social entrepreneur, you need to be very passionate about what you're doing. Whether you are interested to help the children, whether you're interested to help single moms, whether you're interested to help the disabled people. What is the mission what drives you and how long are you going to do this? If you are doing this for the sake of money, you won't last very long. It is not a dot-com world, it is not a corporate world, it is a very heart-to-heart relationship kind of world.
Okay, that's the biggest things of that. Okay, so who will occupy the event on 14 and 15 September?
So for the event on 14 and 15, we have invited people from Europe, from US, and from Australia, and as well as from Southeast Asia. These are either seasoned, experienced social impact investors and social entrepreneurs outside Indonesia. Come and share their journey, come and share their experience. Many of the social impact investors are very keen to enter the Indonesian market, but they know very little about the social enterprises scene in Indonesia. I think partly because of limited information, because of could be language barrier, but also because of lack of relationship. We hope this TBN Asia conference will be a wonderful network opportunity for people. We hope to attract 500 people all under the roof in 2 days, and we're going to have close to 80 exhibition booths, almost 60% from Indonesia, 40% from outside Indonesia. Come and cross-share their experience, their business model, and their business network.
Okay, that's really great. So what I'm questioning me again is actually about the phenomenon of, we're talking about TBN Asia, is sort of like philanthropy, charity, something. So what I'm questioning is, how does this phenomenon exist in Asia especially? But we're going to do that after the break. Tetap bersama kami di Hello Indonesia.